Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I hope you're having a great DrupalCon so far. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ronald. I'm 29 years old, and I've been working with Drupal for roughly 6 years now. It's my first time speaking at DrupalCon, so give me a break if you'd like. But I'd love to share some of my newfound knowledge with everybody, so that's why I'm here. On the slide, you see our team. I work at Golgorilla in the Netherlands. It's our team, some family and friends. At Golgorilla, we have about 30 people working now. You might know us from Greenpeace Greenwire, which is a case on Drupal.com. Better check it out, it's really awesome. Yeah, sure, sorry. Is this better? Thank you. So you might have heard us from Greenpeace Greenwire.com. It's on Drupal.com. It's a case study. It's a predecessor for Open Social, which you also might have heard from. If not, then please check it out. It's a Drupal 8 distribution. It's really cool. As Golgorilla, we are funding the core team of Open Social. So all the techniques mentioned here, all the research that has been done on progressive web apps, we've all tested it in Open Social, and it's going to be in there in this distribution. So in this 25-minute session, I would like to share some knowledge about progressive web apps. And it's focused on push notifications, which we use to enhance the engagement in our distribution. So first things first, what is a progressive web app? The term got introduced in 2015 by a Google developer and designer. And it's actually a term which is used for describing apps that take advantage of new features supported by modern browsers. Features like service workers, the web app manifest, that will make sure that your web applications actually are amazing applications in their native operating system, and they behave a bit like apps in on your phone. So it really gives that appy feeling. And I would argue that progressive web apps are, first of all, reliable. So unfortunately, no more cool dinosaur where you can play with. They will load instantly. They will never show a dinosaur anymore if you do it correctly. It's because service workers, they enable your progressive web app to pre-cache your resources. So it will eliminate the dependence on your network. And that will ensure that regardless of your network, you will be able to use your website. Second of all, progressive web apps are fast, so they really respond quickly to your user interactions, and they have the silky smooth scrolling which you're used to. And that's needed, of course, because research have shown that 53% of users will abandon your website if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. So performance is really, really a big thing. Progressive web apps are engaging. So as you can see in this example, it will feel like a natural app, but users do not have to download anything from the App Store. It's just in your browser. And it's not just engaging, it's also re-engaging. So by enabling push notifications, people are triggered to come back to your platform. So that's also what we're going to focus on, but more on that later. And progressive web apps are secure. So without serving your content over HTTPS, it's really powerful, so people can snoop around with your content and you really don't want to. Service workers also do not work without HTTPS, so definitely secure. So I've dropped the name already a couple of times, service workers. What are service workers? I will give you a little introduction. I'm not sure, is anybody already familiar with service workers? By show of hands, not that much. So a service worker, in essence, is a script that runs in your browser. It runs in the background, so it's not connected to your web page. I'd like to paraphrase Joe from Google, who actually tried showing it by saying that the service worker is actually somewhat like an air traffic controller. So all the requests coming in from your web page, from a service worker handles it just like an air traffic controller would handle your plane. So it could reroute your request, it could actually stop your request, it could cache your request. So it's a bit simple way to say it's somewhat similar to an air traffic controller. And it's basically just a script that runs in the background, but it's so powerful, it will enable you to create rich offline experiences, things like periodic background syncs, push notifications. It's all enabled because of service workers. So that's really the foundation of your progressive web app. And next to that, the web app manifest. The web app manifest is just a simple JSON file that enables you as a developer to give it really that appy feeling. So you have the app on your home screen, and the JSON manifest file will make sure that it looks the way you want to, but also behaves the way you want to. So if you open up your application through your progressive web app, you can configure yourself if it's going to be in portrait mode or landscape mode, if it's going to be ending up on the index.php or any other subpage. So it's all configurable through the web app manifest. So maybe a little bit of background on why I'm having this talk. So I already mentioned open social. And the challenge for us, because we're building a Drupal 8 distribution that's mainly focused on social communities and intranets, a big challenge for us is for making the communities thrive and excel. So you do that by creating engagement with your users. People should come back, should get triggered to come back, and make your platform bigger and bigger, more content, more value. So that was our challenge, and the way we tried to get that challenge done is by using push notifications. So I would like to dive a bit into the code with you on how we did this. So what you see here is the config form. It's basically something from Symfony we can just extend. We build a custom module for this. As you can see here, this is just a build form. This is where we put all our fields in, and these fields are the ones that the manifest JSON needs to make your app feeling correct. So in an admin form, you can now just configure anything you like. And by putting it in the submit form, we just make sure that it gets into the configuration of your installation, and somewhere else we can just get it out of the config. So it's all, you can just manage it yourself. And that managing yourself, we do that by having, first of all, the hook page attachments. What we do there is we create a link in the HTML head. That link has a rel tag for manifest, and that rel tag will make sure that your browser understands that all your configuration is going to be in there. So we point it, in this case, to the manifest JSON file. And if you look above there, we have a routing.yaml where we say, hey, for manifest.json, we have a controller. And the only thing that the controller does, it's really simple. It will just get your configuration, which you just stored through the admin form. It will get it. It will make sure that it maps correctly with your manifest JSON settings, and it will just output it as a JSON response. And that's everything that's there to it. So to give a little example, this is one of the configurations I did for OpenSocial. So you can see the short name, the icons, and on the right I posted a GIF which makes sure that you can actually see it working. So just by filling out that form, this is what you get. You will get an appy feeling. You will have your app on your home screen. You can install it. I think if you get back to your website twice within 5 minutes, actually an install banner pops up saying, hey, would you like to pin it to your home screen? It's all been done through just this. So it's really powerful and actually quite simple. But that's not all. Next to that, we have the service worker. As I said, that's maybe the most powerful thing. So first of all, because it's not supported by every browser, we need to make sure that we check if a service worker is actually available. So that's the top line you actually see there in the code. This is where we check if the service worker is enabled for your browser. I think Safari doesn't support it yet, so that's why we do it like this. So if it's available, we try to register a new service worker. We do that by registering a JavaScript file, in this case the sw.js, serviceworker.js, and it will return a promise. So if it's successful, then we can continue to the next step. If not, then unfortunately, probably your browser doesn't support it. And the next step for us is by creating a push subscription. So because we want to enable push notifications, we also have to check if your browser can actually handle push notifications. So that's what we do here for your user. We actually ask the push manager for a subscription. If it's not already there, we're going to try and create a new one. So that's the subscribe user function you see there in the bottom. What the subscribe user function actually does is it will check if you have your notification settings allowed. So I think everybody already has seen it before, that you get asked permissions maybe to access your microphone, your webcam. Now notifications is also part of that. So what we do here is we actually create a little overlay just to get the attention there. And then the service worker will ask if you would allow for the website to send push notifications to you. If that's the case, we're going to store that because every browser has different endpoints for sending push notifications. So we store that endpoint for your user. And that's also the way how we know what users of our platform actually enable push notifications. So to give a little schematic overview of what just happened, first of all, the top two, you see we registered the service worker. We got a promise returned in the happy flow, of course. After that, we try to create a push subscription for our user, and also that returns a promise. And if that's correct, then we store it in our database, and we're actually ready to receive push notifications. It depends on your application on what event listener will handle this. So if we look at our implementation of the event listener, you see here that this is actually the sw.js, so the service worker file. It will just listen to the push event. That's something that the service worker will push towards us. So that's the only thing that it does in this case for the push notifications, is it will listen to the push event, and it will ask the service worker to send the push notification. In this case with a payload, which is usually just a message, an icon. It's the icon in front of the service worker, or in front of the notification. And that's actually all there is to it. The bottom part is just getting the data out of the response. So you don't really have to be a JavaScript guru to make sure that push notifications work. This is actually all there is to it. And for us, of course, we need also to implement sending push notifications. So we use a web push library. This is the library that makes sure that we can also push correctly to that endpoint we just created. And in this case, what it does is we create it in two ways. The first option you see here is just an admin form again. So we get the user from the admin form, which you select there. I will show it later in a little demo. And we can send a push notification to that user. So we just get the user, we get the subscription we stored a while ago. We make sure that we get all the data, so the endpoint from the browser, but also the authentication to make sure that everything is valid. And that's when we were going to send it. So that's what you're seeing here. Our web push library asks us to use Vapid, which is actually an authentication method. And if we have the correct credentials, we push our message to the web push library and the authentication, then it's able to send a notification. So to summarize it in a little demo. So what you see here is the ask for the permission. So in this case, as a Chris Hall, it's a user we just created on our platform, we're going to allow it. Then we're going to go to our admin form, where we're actually going to be able to send our push notification. So this is all in our open social distribution. This is the manifest form, which we just discussed. So here you can enable your icons, your short name, the orientation, if you want to have it in landscape portrait mode. And we need to do this because that's how our service worker gets registered for now. So once we save this, then we can actually send one. So we're logging in as an admin now, and yeah, we're going to send our push notification. So on the top, you see all the users that are actually registered for notifications. We're just going to send it to the admin for now. Yeah, and we can give it a title and a payload, so the message in this case. And it worked. So this is our first implementation of push notifications. The second one is actually the integration with our message stack. So what you see here is a really brief overview of what we have in OpenSocial. So in this case, the creation of an entity or an update or delete of an entity actually triggers our activity factory. That activity factory is basically connected to the message stack. You can download it on Drupal.org, so it's a concept module. And in this case, it will make sure that we actually create a new message for that message type. We render a message template, and that message template contains tokenized text. So whatever you want in there, you can configure it. And that will trigger creating a new activity. And activities for us means that we show a message on a certain destination. It's all pluggable, the destinations. And in our OpenSocial case, the destinations are actually the stream you see on the left picture. And on the right picture, our notification center. Both, I think, you know from Facebook. It's kind of similar. But in this case, of course, we wanted a new destination, the push notification. So basically, by copy-pasting what we just did in the form, creating a new plugin for our activity factory. I don't have enough time to show you all the details behind that, but basically the same code makes sure that it will also work for our activity factory. And here's a little demo. So this is Chris Hall again. You saw that he allowed his push notifications. So he's going to minimize his browser, so he's actually out of focus, and we really want to re-engage him. So now I'm logged in as myself on the platform, and I'm actually going to like a comment that Chris Hall made. But first, you see this is actually a message template. I'm going to configure it especially for you. And here is our new plugin that's available, the web push plugin. So we save it. So now it should work. We're going to like a comment that Chris made. And Chris will get his notification, of course. So once he clicks on it, actually the browser reopens again. So he's immediately re-engaged with our platform, and hopefully he will check what's happening and why he got re-engaged. So that's really, really powerful. This is how we implemented it, but yeah, it's also so really pluggable, so you can do it yourself, basically with the code I just shown. Did we actually succeed in creating our own progressive web app? There's a cool open source tool out there. It's called Lighthouse. It will check your web app and score it. So in our case, we really didn't touch anything on the performance yet. There's a Drupal 7 module out there called PWA, and that touches the performance. So hopefully we can combine that with our Drupal 8 version. But actually, we got quite a good score already, just with the code that you've seen. So for the future, yeah, it's progressive enhancement, which means that it shouldn't hurt you or your users to enable it, to create it. It won't break the site if it's not there, if you do it correctly. It's really powerful. All the browsers, operating systems, they're all working on it. And if it's not there, probably it will be there in the coming years. I think only Safari is the only browser that we are not quite sure how long it's going to take. But other than that, yeah, I can definitely recommend, and I truly believe that it's going to be the future. So I'm open for questions, but first of all, I would like to share that there's a GitHub repo with all the code, so you can look into it there. It's my username /Baltimore. And there's a really cool tool. It's called What Web Can Do Today. This is where you can see what your browser actually already can do with progressive web apps. So if you have any questions, there's a mic in there in the middle, so we can archive everything. No questions? This Friday, there are sprints, so join us. I'll be there as well. I might actually work on the progressive web app. And please fill in the survey and rate the session. Thanks for your attention.